Welcome to Legendary Drama. Today we are summarizing the drama Itaewon Class. If you like our content, don't forget to subscribe to us. Park Sae Ro Yi was often punished by his teachers, but deep inside he was extremely kind, unlike the tycoon's son Jang Geun Won, who was a bully. But no one dared to touch him as they were afraid of his father. One day, Sae Ro Yi saw Geun Won bullying his classmates as he felt angry and felt unjust, and he punched Geun Won. Sae Ro Yi's father was working at Geun Won's father company. The chairman said to resolve the matter, Sae Ro Yi should kneel down and apologize to his son. Sae Ro Yi said that he never did anything wrong and his father taught him to never lower his dignity.
The chairman said that if refused, his father would have to quit his job. Sae Ro Yi was upset that he caused his dad to lose his job, but his father supported this decision. The father and son went for a drink that evening and told Sae Ro Yi that he was proud of him for growing into such an upright person. But the next day, Sae Ro Yi forced to drop out of school and his father was unemployed. Sae Ro Yi dad used up all his savings to open a restaurant. Soo-ah visited them often and came to have meals with them. However, Geun Won also liked Soo-ah and even bragged about his car, but she did not like him, so she ignored him. Sae Ro Yi's father was out delivering food and Geun Won's car hit his father, causing him to pass away. Sae Ro Yi's his only family, and he was extremely upset. During the funeral, the police came to announce that the perpetrator's side wanted to settle, but he questioned how much one put a price to his father's life. Suddenly a pile of photographs dropped to the ground and Soo-ah discovered that the car that hit his dad was Geun Won's car. She remembered the license plate clearly. The chairman had already arranged for someone else to take the rap on behalf of his son. Sae Ro Yi, furious, and went to look for Geun Won at the hospital. He saw Sae Ro Yi's furious face and was startled, but he was so angry that this guy killed his father and wanted to use a rock to kill him. Soo-ah called the police and they arrived and they told him to put the weapon down, otherwise they would shoot. The policeman was about to shoot, but Soo-ah stood in the middle and told Sae Ro Yi to calm down and said that his father would be very sad to see him like this. Sae Ro Yi finally dropped the rock, but he was tormented as he could not take revenge for his dad, despite knowing that the man in front of him killed his dad. He was taken to prison and when the chairman came to visit, he said he felt sorry to see him in prison, and said that if Sae Ro Yi kneeled down and apologized he would be released. When Sae Ro Yi heard this, he was furious and said that the person who needs to kneel is his son. Upon leaving, the chairman was told that Soo-ah is Sae Ro Yi's good friend and called her to his house. Knowing she grew up poorly, he gave her a scholarship to indirectly bribed her to testify for his son. At that moment, Geun Won appeared and said they should release Sae Ro Yi, and the chairman was furious. He said that if he wanted to be the heir, he cannot have a criminal record. The chairman took him to a farm and asked him to kill the chicken. He wanted to train his son to be more ruthless and Geun Won obeyed the order, but was traumatized. At the trial, Sae Ro Yi was sentenced to 3 years in prison for manslaughter and it turned out that the chairman had gotten rid of the scapegoat. The police was disgruntled but unable to do anything as the chairman had already bribed the director. When Sae Ro Yi first arrived in prison, he was forced to kneel by the other inmates and he suddenly laughed as he was thinking, why would the whole world want me to kneel? The rest of the prisoners beat him up. When Soo-ah visited him, she felt regretful and told him that she was the one who betrayed him as she got the scholarship from the chairman. He did not blame Soo-ah and told her that it was okay. He also said he liked her and when he get out of prison he will look for her. 3 years passed, Sae Ro Yi was released from prison. He became friends with a famous gangster and said that he could look for him whenever he needed help. The boss was impressed by Sae Ro Yi's character. Sae Ro Yi went to the pub he and his father often frequent and told his dad he would definitely take revenge. Sae Ro Yi started gathering information about Jangga Group and saw that Geun Won was taken in for hitting someone. He followed a letter that Soo-ah sent him to visit her. There was a masquerade party that evening and the streets were bustling. Suddenly, a masked lady hugged him and he was happy when he realized it was Soo-ah. They went for a drink and she said she would work for Geun Won's family, but he did not blame her and told her that he would go to work on an ocean ship for 7 years. They bidded farewell and he started work on the ship. 7 years later, Soo-ah is a highly successful individual in Jangga Group and the chairman fancies her. Geun Won has been wooing her for 7 years, but he is still unable to capture her heart. After work, she went to Itaewon Street as she and Sae Ro Yi promised to meet there after 7 years. He was there waiting for her and 7 years ago, he said that he will open a pub, but she did not expect Sae Ro Yi to follow through. The pub name is Dan Bam. However, there were no customers in his shop even though his pub was new and that street was bustling with people. Back at Itaewon High School, a group of girls are bullying a girl in class. A girl named Yi Seo took her phone out to broadcast the bullying and it went viral. The girl's parents came to slap Yi Seo, but Yi Seo asked her friend to film that scene and that she will upload everything online. The lady tried to slap Yi Seo again and Sae Ro Yi stopped her in time, but she took the opportunity and slapped the lady back. He said he did not know what happened but she should not run away like that, but Yi Seo lied and said her father died because of the lady and he let her go. She teased him and said she was lying and left. At the same time, Geun Won was presenting a plan to open a new pub, however Soo-ah objected and the chairman agreed with her. He even tore up his materials and slapped him in the face, because the Itaewon store he was managing has been losing money for 3 months. He told him to hand his stores all to Soo-ah to manage. He was angry and told Soo-ah she should choose her side wisely as he will inherit the company, and Soo-ah mocked him and said is he sure he will inherit everything as the chairman has another son. The chairman's other son, Geun-soo, is Yi Seo's friend. Yi Seo and Geun-soo went on a motorbike ride but had to avoid a young boy who was on the road, and because of the unexpected break, Yi Seo flew out of the bike. Sae Ro Yi was handing out flyers and rushed to help her. However, they were surprised when they saw each other. Sae Ro Yi suddenly fainted and they took him to the hospital but realized he passed out not because of the accident but because he overworked. Upon knowing that Sae Ro Yi opened a new pub, the chairman ordered Soo-ah to harm his pub, but she is conflicted because she likes Sae Ro Yi but also value her job at Jangga and feels indebted to the chairman. Sae Ro Yi woke up and wanted to leave, but Yi Seo criticized his work and told him he should advertise on social media instead as it is more effective. He said he will take note and left. Yi Seo and her friends went to visit Jangga pub for a drink, but because she is under 18 years old and used a fake ID, it was discovered by Soo-ah and she chased them away. Then they decide to visit Danbam. As soon as they entered, Sae Ro Yi told Sungwon to check their ID before heading out. Even though he knew that she was underage, he closed an eye as the pub was not doing well. Sae Ro Yi to analyze other pubs, and he met Soo-ah. He said the pub was not doing well and she offered to help, but he politely rejected. When she was outside Danbam, she saw the underage Yi Seo and company, and she called the police. Inside, Yi Seo's friend was disrespectful towards Sungwon, so he scolded him. However, that man was drunk and wanted to hit him but Sungwon came out and took the punch for him and hit the man in his face. Then he took the boiling soup and poured it on his leg. Sungwon was a former gangster he met during his jail term. At that time, the police came and said that they received reports that there were minors here. They were all arrested and were forced to be suspended for 2 months. At that moment, Geun Won appeared as he needed to help his brother as the chairman ordered him to. He told the police officer that he is friends with Sae Ro Yi, and the officer said that if they are friends they could do something about it. But Sae Ro Yi was furious and said that they should not be doing that. They should be honest and not be afraid of the tycoon's family. When Sae Ro Yi left, Yi Seo chased after it and said why would he not take up the offer and save his pub. But he said that it is just how he is, and the two argued. Geun Won came and brought up the story of how he harmed Sae Ro Yi's father and wanted Sae Ro Yi to attack him but he held back and said that he will make him pay. At that time, Yi Seo started to have an interest in Sae Ro Yi. The next day at school, Yi Seo and Geun-soo had to run around the field as part of their punishment and stay back to reflect. However, she drew Sae Ro Yi portrait instead. Yi Seo went online to research more information about Sae Ro Yi's case. A week later, it was the new year and she was of legal age so she went drinking with her friends. She was not interested in the session and she constantly thought about Sae Ro Yi. On the other hand, Sae Ro Yi met with Soo-ah to have drinks at the bar and almost confess his love to her. Yi Seo wanted to leave but at that time a man who was drinking with her group chased after her and did not want to let her go home so easily after spending money on her group. She threw him a stack of money and Yi Seo managed to hit him and ran away but he was angry and chased after her. Yi Seo ran into a men's restroom and she met Sae Ro Yi in the toilet. The man managed to catch up with Yi Seo and said that he was her boyfriend but Sae Ro Yi saw her injured face and knew something was wrong so he beat up that man and told her and Soo-ah to run away together. Yi Seo was jealous that he cared about Soo-ah and when they parted ways, Yi Seo invited Sae Ro Yi for a drink on the pretext of thanking him for his help and said she would promote his restaurant for him. Soo-ah and Yi Seo did not get along as they were both jealous of each other, and Yi Seo even managed to deduce and said that it was because Soo-ah calling the police that his restaurant had a suspension. Suwa admitted that she called the police and said that even if Sae Ro Yi knew, he would still like her. When he came back with the drinks, Suwa told him the truth. Sae Ro Yi, he would forgive her even though he is disappointed. She left and the two of them continued drinking together. Yi Seo gave him tips on the restaurant. Sae Ro Yi, drunk, and told her about his past, which made her even more interested in him. Sae Ro Yi fell to the ground and couldn't help but give him a kiss. He woke up in the hospital and did not remember anything about the kiss. Yi Seo confided to her mother that she liked a guy but he was in a difficult situation and had a grudge, but her mother stopped her because she did not want her daughter to suffer. Yi Seo decided to flip a coin to decide her fate, and even though the coin fell into the sea, she still went to his pub to see him. She told him she wanted to help him achieve his unfinished dream, but unexpectedly the chairman's second son, Gun-soo, also appeared and was about to work there. He is the child of a mistress, so he is often bullied by Geun Won, and his mother cared about herself more than her child, so he grew up lonely and sad. He left home because he felt that it was not the place for him. However, Sae Ro Yi was very kind to him, so he wanted to help him. The restaurant had 5 staff now, but they could only have 4 headcount, so Sae Ro Yi said they did not need a manager. However, Yi Seo pointed out the restaurant's flaws and managed to make them agree in unison that her points made sense. He decided to make her the restaurant manager and told everyone to listen to her. The chairman realized that the female director, Min Young, bought a lot of the shares, and at this rate she will become a major shareholder and his position is at stake. He met with her to test her out and asked if she had any other intentions. Yi Seo managed to redecorate the pub beautifully and even promoted on her Instagram. She was an influencer, so many people were interested and there were snaking lines outside Dambam. Everyone was incredibly happy. Suwa stood outside and saw and was feeling worried. Their revenue hit 3 million and everyone was extremely happy. The next day, the chairman and Suwa walked on the street to survey the pubs, and he told Suwa if she wanted to marry his son Geun Won he would approve of her, but she just kept silent. They stopped at Dambam and seeing that the restaurant was crowded, the president told her she should do something about it. The next day, it was Hyunhee off day, so Sae Ro Yi came to cook instead, and everything went smoothly as he is a good cook. However, when Hyunhee came back to work, customers started complaining and one even found a hair in her food. Yi Seo scolded Hyunhee and said that she was pulling them down, so Sae Ro Yi should fire her. Sae Ro Yi called Hyunhee in and instead of firing her, he gave her double the salary and told her to work twice as hard. He told them they should work together instead. The next morning, Yi Seo bumped into bullies from her school, but fortunately Gun-soo appeared. One of them told her that she was the one who called the police on her for underage drinking, and Yi Seo realized she mistakenly blamed Suwa. Yi Seo slapped the girl and managed to beat them all up, so they backed away. The next few days Sae Ro Yi told Yi Seo to check on Hyunhee's dishes and to give her honest feedback. She kept trying and finally managed to cook a good dish. Suwa was upset and went to drink by herself. The chairman's words kept coming to her mind and she did not know what to do. On the way home, she bumped into Sae Ro Yi and his team. She confessed her feelings, and as they were about to kiss, Yi Seo used her hand to push away Suwa as she did not want Suwa to kiss him. Suwa was embarrassed and sobered up and they all went together to eat with Sae Ro Yi's team. This made the whole atmosphere awkward. Suwa said that Jangga Group is successful because they are a big chain and the president created all the recipes himself, and Sae Ro Yi said that he would turn Dambam into a franchise. Everyone was extremely shocked, but they believed in him. Later on, Yi Seo and Suwa had another argument in the restroom. Yi Seo said she liked Sae Ro Yi, and if anyone got in her way she would destroy the person. Suwa was not one who backed down, so she said she was not inferior and would win. At the chairman office, Suwa said that Jangga Pub was successful because of Yi Seo and her social media presence, and that Sae Ro Yi have dreams of becoming a franchise chain. When the chairman heard that, he was taken aback and was slightly worried. Mother found out that she had dropped out of college to work at a pub and was extremely angry. Her mother told her to stop, but she said that she liked Sae Ro Yi and wanted to continue. Yi Seo's mother gave her her luggage and they parted ways. While she was on the bridge, Sae Ro Yi ran past and she told him that she was kicked out because her mother found out. He was grateful, but also felt sorry for her. He comforted Yi Seo and said that they will make Dambam successful. Yi Seo managed to get him an interview at the TV station and he was happy when he received this news. He told Suwa the news and was extremely happy. Geun Won saw and he was extremely jealous and came back to report to his father. He told his son that Sae Ro Yi is extremely strong-willed and that they should destroy people like him before they strike. The next day when Sae Ro Yi went to the TV station, he saw Geun Won there and realized that both their restaurants will be in competition. The TV removed Dambam from the program, and Sae Ro Yi was upset at the news. Yi Seo encouraged and comforted him when they ran into Soo-ah, but this time, he walked past her. Later Yi Seo told him that the person who called the police was not Soo-ah. Upon hearing this, he went to chase after her. At the bus stop, he took Soo-ah's hand and told her he would deal with Jangga Group so she does not have to suffer anymore. Sae Ro Yi called his friend who was monitoring Jangga Group stocks to buy more. It was reported that he had 1.9 billion worth of Jangga shares. The next day, the assistant told the chairman about the news, and it turned out that Sae Ro Yi used his father's insurance money to purchase Jangga's shares when it hit rock bottom due to Geun Won's scandal. When the chairman heard this, he suddenly laughed as he did not expect Sae Ro Yi to hold so many shares. He went to Dambam to meet Sae Ro Yi and eat at his restaurant. Sae Ro Yi welcomed them and told his staff to not make any mistakes. The chairman questioned why Sae Ro Yi would buy so many Jangga shares, and he said it was because he saw potential in his company and saw an opportunity to make money, even though this was not the real reason. He enjoyed the food and ate it all, but he told Sae Ro Yi he was no match for Jangga Group and asked him to give up and not fight with Jangga Group. Sae Ro Yi that he will make them pay and kneel down to beg him instead. The chairman was extremely furious and left. Later that evening, he told Yi Seo that this is just the first step of revenge. His friend who was managing the shares is Ho Jin, the guy who was often bullied by Geun Won. When Ho Jin visited him in prison, he wanted revenge and asked Sae Ro Yi to join hands with him. He is a fund manager and managed to help Sae Ro Yi make good money in the stock market. The duo went to meet with the executive director Min Young and said that they should overthrow the chairman and she should become the chairman instead. She laughed, but later on said that she would agree if the chairman ate at his restaurant, and because he did, they shook hands and worked together. The next day, the chairman invited Min Young to play chess, and he was testing her out and telling her that he valued her. However, he saw evidence of her and Sae Ro Yi working together and had to come up with a plan. Yi Seo was starting to admire Sae Ro Yi more, and Geun-soo is curious to know about the feud between his family and Sae Ro Yi, but Yi Seo said she didn't know, so he went home to ask his father. But instead of answering, he told him to stop working at Dambam as that was not where he belonged. He left and called Yi Seo out. He asked Yi Seo if she liked Sae Ro Yi, and she said she knew he liked her. And she said he may get a chance if he took over Jangga Group. This made Geun-soo shocked, but she brushed it off as a joke. When they returned, Sae Ro Yi was leaving for somewhere and Yi Seo immediately followed him. He agreed, and as they were on the bus to visit a small countryside, he told her about his past. They were visiting a former police officer who was in charge of his father's case. He knew that the police chief had tampered with the evidence, and he tried to speak up, but when the police chief threatened him with his daughter he could not do anything. He felt guilty, so he resigned. He was sorry to Sae Ro Yi and said that he would do anything but because his daughter was still young and he was afraid. Sae Ro Yi did not blame him but told him he should be brave. That night they stayed over as it was raining heavily. He told Yi Seo that if the police testifies, Geun Won would go to jail and the chairman will be disposed of his position, so it was vital for the police to change his mind. Looking at the scars on Sae Ro Yi, she knew that he'd gone through hardships and cried bitterly and fell in love with him. She said she will protect him. The next day, the agent said a new owner bought over the pub and would increase the rental price. There was only 6 months left and everyone was worried. Sae Ro Yi called the new landlord hoping to negotiate, but it ended up that the person was the chairman. Yi Seo knew about it and was very angry and scolded Soo-ah and Geun Won. Sae Ro Yi went to meet with the chairman to negotiate. He begged the chairman, but he would not barge. The chairman told him that he would buy out every building if he opens his pub in a new place. He said that he would barge if he kneels and apologize, but he said he would not do it, and he made a declaration and said that the chairman cannot do anything to him. He said everything can only change if the chairman and Geun-woo got punished. He left and ran into Soo-ah and still joked with her. She asked the chairman to revoke his decision, but he was upset and asked her to leave. As Dambam was about to leave, they went out to drink and Geun-soo apologized to Sae Ro Yi for all the trouble his family caused, but he did not blame Geun-soo. The others went to the club to party, but the bouncer did not allow Tony to enter as they banned Africans. Tony insisted he was Korean, but the guards would not let him in. Yi Seo said nobody believed him because he's black and this made him sad. The next morning, there were vandalism on the bar, saying that they were a racist club and they were surprised. Gunsu told Yi Seo that he would quit working at Danbam and beg his father to not touch Sae Ro Yi. Yi Seo heard that and was extremely grateful. Sae Ro Yi refused to let him go and did not want anyone to sacrifice. Yi Seo supported the idea and he snatched her name tag away. He said that she was not qualified to be a manager. Yi Seo was upset as she devoted herself to the restaurant but was scolded harshly. She argued back and said that if he continues to be sympathetic, he would never achieve his dream. Sae Ro Yi said that he is different, he would be the same as the chairman if he did that. And said he was upset because she was not on his side. She insisted that she will still be the manager and bet her life on him. She asked what alternative he had and he said he will buy a building. His words made her think through and she went to apologize to Gunsu and he confessed his love to her but she said she only liked Sae Ro Yi. Yi Seo posted an article about the club racism and it received a lot of support. Tony came back and Yi Seo said she will help him find his dad so that he can apply for Korean citizenship. Seeing the change in Yi Seo made Sae Ro Yi happy and proud and he returned her the manager name tag but Gunsu felt sad when he saw the scene. The assistant told the chairman that Sae Ro Yi bought a building. As Jangga shares surged, Sae Ro Yi ordered for all his shares to be sold for a profit. He bought a fairly big shop in Itaewon and while they were renovating the new restaurant, an old lady told him that the unit was very unlucky and the previous owners went bankrupt. Upon hearing this everyone felt dejected. In order to help the new restaurant, Yi Seo live streamed on social media platforms and the restaurant became famous. As he knew that it was Yi Seo who helped Sae Ro Yi succeed, he invited Yi Seo to his company. He let attend a press conference at Jangga Group and Yi Seo asked the chairman if there was any chance for another brand to surpass Jangga Group. The chairman said angrily that if he were alive, there would be no way. Her boldness left a very strong impression on the chairman. The assistant then told her the chairman invited her to eat lunch and he wanted to use the opportunity to invite her to work for Jangga Group and offered 10 times higher salary. But Yi Seo refused and said maybe in the future if it was not for revenge, but if he really saw value in her. The chairman felt even more inclined to get her to work for him. Sae Ro Yi met up with Ho Jin to talk about the tax amount and he came up with a plan to help him reduce the taxes and told him to incorporate Danbam as a company. Sae Ro Yi messaged his team and they met up and decided on the name Itaewon class to be his company name. The police officer and his daughter came to deliver supplies to Sae Ro Yi's pub and he went to talk to Sae Ro Yi. His daughter saw a cat and was distracted and she went missing. They went to look for her, but luckily she met Min Young and borrowed her phone. The police officer found his daughter and he saw that someone was tailing them. He managed to catch up with the guy and it turned out that the guy was following Min Young according to the chairman orders. When the chairman saw Yi Seo online streams for Danbam, he got worried as he also recognized her talent. The assistant announced that Min Young found out that they were following her. He said that it was not important and more importantly he wanted to make Yi Seo work for them. This made Soo-ah shocked. The assistant continued by saying that the policeman is the one who provides food supplies for Sae Ro Yi and immediately asked his staff to take care of it. Sae Ro Yi met with Soo-ah and he confessed to her. Unexpectedly when Yi Seo came to work the next morning she said if he dated Soo-ah she would quit her job. The chairman met with the policeman and asked him to provide food supplies to Jangga instead but he said he wanted to set a good example for his daughter so even though the offer is good, he would have to refuse. The chairman threatened the police officer and said that he should think about his daughter and he went on to say he was the police officer in charge of Sae Ro Yi's dad case and if the chairman harms his family he will turn the case over. Geun Won came to look for Yi Seo and announced that he wanted to talk to her and invite her to work at Jangga Group. Sae Ro Yi was worried about it. He offered Yi Seo the marketing director position and offered a salary 50 times more her current salary. She was shocked, but she could not be bought for money and instead she was using him. She flattered him and tried to make him spill the truth about the car crash that killed Sae Ro Yi's father 10 years ago. Geun Won being foolish told her all about it but it was all recorded by Yi Seo. Geun Won realized he has been tricked and tried to steal her phone to delete the recording. He tried to hit her but she poured the coffee over his face and declared that she would kill anyone who touches Sae Ro Yi. Geun Won chased after Yi Seo and slapped her to steal her phone. Yi Seo was helpless and screamed for help as there were many people there. Geun Won decided to throw a large sum of bills and everyone was busy picking up the money so nobody paid attention to her. Luckily, Sae Ro Yi came to her rescue. Seeing that she was injured, he tried to hit Geun Won. Luckily Yi Seo stopped him in time. The police came and took Geun Won away. Sae Ro Yi hugged Yi Seo, and she felt happy. She posted the recording online and this caused Jangga Group shares to plummet. The chairman was extremely furious and beat his son up. Geun Won felt extremely humiliated and Min Young witnessed everything knowing in her heart that he could not be competent enough to take over Jangga Group. She met with Sae Ro Yi and this was the perfect opportunity to take down Jangga Group, but the crucial evidence was the former police officer testimonial. They went to visit him the next morning, but he was looking for his daughter and saw her sitting alone on the chair. It turned out that she had found out what her father did 10 years ago, so she left home. Sae Ro Yi left and said they would come back another time. The chairman wanted to defend Geun Won and save his company, so he met with the lawyers to find a way to deal with it. Suah suggested that Geun Won must be sent to prison to save the company, because otherwise his position is at stake. Suah did not expect the chairman to refute it and firmly said that he would rather lose his position than lose his son. Suah reported at Min Young and she immediately held an internal meeting with the shareholders to dismiss the chairman, but the chairman had a plan. The next morning he held an urgent press conference and tried to gain sympathy, but admitting that his son was the one who caused the accident 10 years ago, and even paid someone to take the rap for him. Geun Won watched the press conference and ran out of the car to the press conference location and realized that his father sold him out to keep his position of the president of the company. He was extremely upset. They realized that their plan failed and they were extremely disgusted. Min Young met with the chairman and told her she was foolish to think that she could take him down, and she said she clearly underestimated him. She was demoted to an employee of a small branch and was feeling dejected. The trial took place the next day and Geun Won was sentenced to 7 years in prison, but chairman did not feel anything because he managed to save his position. Sae Ro Yi went to his father's grave and said that it took him 11 years to finally get his killer to pay for his crimes. He offered his father a glass of soju and still felt bitter. Geun Soo decided to quit his job because of everything that happened, and he also had a chance to take over Jangga Group now. He was motivated because Yi Seo said she would give him a chance if he takes over Jangga. Suah visited Geun Won in prison and said that his father had revoked all his shares. He did not expect his father to be so evil. Geun Soo went to see his father and said that he would listen to him as long as he inherited Jangga Group. The chairman was happy to see that his son came to his senses. He told Suah to train Geun Soo to become the best. The next day the chef came to the restaurant in a beautiful outfit and Tony was distracted that he mistakenly put curry powder in the dish, but it turned out that the dish was delicious and this curry dish won the first prize of a cooking show, which helped Danbam gain awareness and people were looking to expand Danbam. This was a great opportunity and Yi Seo complied the documents. However, Sae Ro Yi said that they are not ready yet. Yi Seo said that this is a golden opportunity if they wanted to catch up with Jangga and argued with him. The investors constantly called Yi Seo and pressured her, saying that they will invest in other restaurants if they cannot give an answer. Yi Seo dragged Sae Ro Yi to the rooftop nagging him about this, and upon hearing this, he decided to take a risk but they were unaware they had fallen into the chairman's trap. They met with the investor and he praised Danbam and Sae Ro Yi requested for a 5 billion won investment. The investor agreed quickly and the news spreaded quickly and more investors wanted to invest. They received more than 10 billion won in investment and had a lot of people expressing interest. They even opened an office so that they could conduct training in the office. That night, they saw an injured old lady and they rushed her to the hospital and she turned out to be Tony's grandmother. Tony showed her a photo of his father and she said his father passed away many years ago. The next day was the next round of the food competition and Danbam featured their soft tofu stew while Jangga Group cooked the fermented soybean. Danbam emerged as the winner and they were happy, but Suah and Geun Soo was upset. Sae Ro Yi invited the two of them to eat and Suah held Sae Ro Yi, causing Yi Seo to be upset. They decided to play a game of spin the bottle and Geun Soo asked Yi Seo about her promise if he took over Jangga Group she would date him and she said yes but was cut off. Then, it was Sae Ro Yi's turn to answer and they asked his relationship with Suah and Sae Ro Yi said he liked her. The answer made Yi Seo sad, and then Geun-soo went on to ask if Sae Ro Yi liked Yi Seo. He said no, and considered her as his sister. Hearing this, Yi Seo felt upset and she burst into tears. She felt hurt and embarrassed and left. Hyunhee asked Sae Ro Yi to go after her, however, Geun-soo said he should not if he doesn't love her. He left to find her and said that she loved him a lot. She gave up everything to be with him, including her mother. But Sae Ro Yi said that he did not love her and gave different reasons to why they will not work out, but Yi Seo said that those are excuses, and unless he said he would never love her she would then give up. She was extremely upset and heartbroken. The chairman was extremely unhappy that they lost 2 rounds of the competition, and he ordered that if Geun-soo lost the final round, he will not be able to inherit the company. Geun-soo asked the chairman to let him be in charge of the show, and he would win the final round. Danbam was more crowded after winning the show, but Yi Seo wanted to take a break momentarily to clear her head, and Sae Ro Yi let her go. Geun-soo told his father that Yi Seo left her job, and he realized it was a golden opportunity. The next morning, when Sae Ro Yi came to the office, it was in a mess, and all the investors wanted to pull out. This caused Sae Ro Yi Group to fall into crisis, and it turned out that main investor was planted by the chairman to trick him. They came to Danbam to demand compensation, and they were very upset, because they all lost money. Suah brought a vase of flowers to Sae Ro Yi on behalf of the president, and she saw the scene. Sae Ro Yi said to not mistreat his staff and they should trust him and hope that they can continue to support them and he won't disappoint them. Suah asked him where the money would come from and he said he would take a mortgage loan. She said she does not want to see him hurt, so how about they run away together? At that moment Yi Seo called to tell him she would fight by his side. Sae Ro Yi decided to keep fighting and find a new investor. They were looking through the list of investors and saw a 70-year-old real estate tycoon that was Tony's grandmother, but they did not know it was her. She visited the chairman and asked the chairman to not be so harsh on Danbam, but he refused. She visited Sae Ro Yi and said if he needed help he should let her know, but he refused, and she scolded him and said that he had too much pride and would fail because of that stubbornness. He reflected that evening, and all of a sudden, Yi Seo called him and said she found him an investor, which was Tony's grandmother. She said she would invest if they won the final round of the competition. Geun-soo wants to win the contest to become the heir, and he knew that Danbam won thanks to Hyunhee, and he suddenly came out with an evil plan. He discussed it with Suah, but she was torn. When they went for the competition the next day, the news about the chef being transgender was shared all over the internet, and this made the chef really upset. Geun-soo was the person who gave the information to the journalist to publish the article. Suah was surprised that Geun-soo became so cold-hearted. Sae Ro Yi found Hyunhee and he told her to not give up and to win the contest so that people will not trample on her. He comforted her and hugged her. The next day, they thought that Danbam would not participate and Geun-soo asked them to go ahead, but she walked in full of confidence. He felt uneasy and the program continued. She managed to create a dish that was great and she was declared the winner of the competition. Sae Ro Yi and his team were happy. The chairman knew that Geun-soo was the one who gave the information to the journalist and praised that he changed and is starting to look like the heir. Yi Seo came and hit Geun-soo and asked him why he became so evil. But he said as long as he can take over Jangga and win her, he was willing to do anything. Yi Seo felt helpless and ran back to meet Sae Ro Yi. They were happy they won the contest and went to meet the grandmother to sign an investment. Sae Ro Yi said he will take Danbam to a whole new level. The news that Danbam received an investment flooded the internet and Geun-soo was sad and he asked Suah how can he make Danbam collapse. He was blinded by his ambitions to take over Jangga. The chairman decided to let Geun-soo to let him attend the leadership meeting. He announced to everyone that Geun-soo will be the heir to Jangga. Geun-soo received high praise thanks to his despicable tricks. The inheritance spread it in the newspapers and Geun Won saw the article and wanted to return. For years passed and Geun Won was released from prison. At the same time, Sae Ro Yi's company has grown tremendously and he is now the director of dozens of small companies. Yi Seo also became his capable assistant and was able to solve challenges quickly. Geun-soo returned after studying abroad and he presented his plan to the shareholders and said that they should buy a building in a cheap area and redecorate it like Itaewon Street. He said that the land price would increase and they will sell the buildings at the peak. The chairman agreed with this proposition and praised him. He appointed Geun-soo to destroy Sae Ro Yi's corporation. At that time, Geun Won is also released from prison. The chairman's condition is bad and he suffers from terminal pancreatic cancer and only had 6 months to live. Geun Won visited his father in the hospital and at that time, Geun-soo told his father he should choose an heir and he is not sympathetic towards his father's condition. He knew he had an advantage over his brother, but Geun Won said the past 4 years he had studied hard about the business and it should be left for him. Sae Ro Yi was supposed to meet Soo-ah for dinner, but all of a sudden, Ho Jin called him. He scolded Sae Ro Yi saying that he is the president of Itaewon class, but is dating the director of a rival company. Have he forgotten about revenge? Ho Jin is worried because Geun Won is being released from prison and said that the chairman only had a few more months to live. He called the chairman and said he should not die like this, he had to live to compete with him. He laughed at his words, because he was the only person who wanted him to live. He saw Yi Seo sleeping on the table and took off his jacket and put it over her. She was very happy when she woke up and he was confused about his own feelings. The next morning they had a meeting and discussed that if Geun-soo took over it would be dangerous for them, so they should come out with a plan. Yi Seo came up with a plan and Yi Seo should be the board director. Everyone agreed, and while Sae Ro Yi and Yi Seo were discussing work, Soo-ah called Sae Ro Yi to dinner, but he rejected because he was busy with work. She tried to tease him and he was upset and not to joke around. She was upset and he felt guilty for being harsh on her. Upon hearing that, she told him he is feeling this way because he is falling for her. The chairman knew about Sae Ro Yi's plans and thought of a way to deal with it. Yi Seo went to meet the shareholders of Jangga Group and convinced them to take her side. Most of them were in favor of her, but she worked so hard till her nose bled. Sae Ro Yi went to meet Soo-ah and she asked him if he still liked her. At the same time Yi Seo walked in with Geun Won and saw them. She was disappointed and left, and Sae Ro Yi wanted to chase her, but Soo-ah told him to not go. He decided to go anyway, but Yi Seo had already left. The next day was Jangga Group shareholders meeting. Yi Seo was sick but still went ahead and she fainted at the lobby. The meeting took place, but her appointment as board director was unsuccessful. Sae Ro Yi rushed to the hospital and she quickly came up with another plan. She was enthusiastic about work, but he told her to take a break otherwise he would fire her. His staff chased after him and said that he should rethink his feelings and that Yi Seo had true feelings for him. He reflected and saw the necklace that Yi Seo liked and bought it for her, but he did not have the courage to gift it to her. At that time, Geun Won came to meet with the gangster boss and threw a bag full of money and told him to harm Sae Ro Yi's group. They were all busy working when Sae Ro Yi opened Yi Seo's drawer and saw her diary plus the photo that she drew of him. He realized he had feelings for her. He rushed to the hospital and wanted to confess to Yi Seo. She saw the necklace and was happy that he had feelings for her. At that time a fake doctor walked in and took Yi Seo away. When Sae Ro Yi came, he only saw a messy room and someone sent him a photo of Yi Seo being kidnapped. He received a message saying that he had to come alone if he wanted to save her. Geun-soo saw him and chased after him. Sae Ro Yi arrived at the location and was surrounded by the gangsters. He saw Geun-soo appear and told them to hit him with a car. Upon seeing that, Sae Ro Yi rushed to save him and was knocked down. When he was in that state, he suddenly thought about Yi Seo and regretted that he did not accept her love. Geun-soo quickly called the ambulance, but Geun Won was relentless and still hit his brother. Luckily, he managed to call one of the staff in time before Geun-soo became unconscious, and they kidnapped him and put him in the van. Geun Won thought Sae Ro Yi was dead and sent someone to check, but the ambulance arrived so they quickly left. Sae Ro Yi was taken to the hospital, but he was in critical condition. Everyone was worried as they did not know where Yi Seo was, and the former policeman saw the CCTV images and knew she got kidnapped. Sung-gwon decided to go deal with them himself as Yi Seo is in danger and he suspects he knew the people who kidnapped her. Geun-soo is very angry and Yi Seo pretend to be scared so that Geun Won will leave them alone. When he left, she untied herself. At the same time, Sung-won went to meet with the gangster boss and told them they were in prison together for 10 years, but they did not cooperate and beat him, so he took the opportunity to call the police and they were arrested. Yi Seo finally managed to untie herself and untie Gun-soo so that they can escape. Sae Ro Yi was still in a coma, and in his dream, he saw his father. His father said, "If it is too difficult to live, you can join me." He hugged his dad and said he owed Yi Seo too much, so he could not join him yet. Then Sae Ro Yi woke up, but he cried as he was heartbroken to leave his father again. Geun Won called his father, but he hated his father and said he turned out like this because of his father and he couldn't turn back anymore. He did all these because of how his father treated him and wanted to harm the people who caused him harm. He texted his father the location of the hostages and asked his father to come. He said he will release them if he came. The chairman almost collapsed after hearing this and said it was retribution for how he taught his son. After that, Geun Won went back to the hostages' room, but they ambushed him and hit him. As they ran outside and tried to escape, the gangsters caught them. The boss appeared and surrounded them. Sae Ro Yi woke up and wanted to go to save Yi Seo, but Suah stopped him. Sae Ro Yi declared that he loved Yi Seo and wanted to save her even if he dies. He received a message saying that the chairman knew where the hostages were and immediately rushed to the chairman's house. Sae Ro Yi told him that he would report to the police if he did not say where the hostages were. However, the chairman did not care and said that the only way was to kneel and beg him. Even though Sae Ro Yi would never kneel in front of the chairman, but for Yi Seo, he gave up his pride. When the chairman saw that, he said his greatest wish was fulfilled and wrote down the location for him. But when Sae Ro Yi asked him if he was truly happy, he said that he was inspired by the chairman, but in the end he said he was disgusted that the chairman made him kneel because he held his loved ones hostage. He took the address and left. The chairman was furious. The gangsters were preparing to kill the two of them, and Yi Seo grabbed the shovel and Gun-soo picked up the iron bar. On the count of 3, she ran away, leaving Gun-soo behind to hold them off because he likes her. He used his remaining strength to fight them. As the boss was about to kill Gun-soo, Geun Won stopped him as he had a bit of conscience left. Then they got into the car and chased Yi Seo, who was running away, and just when she was about to get killed, she ran into the field. He asked 2 men to chase her, and while Yi Seo was on the road, both cars ran into each other. They remained safe and Yi Seo ran out to hug Sae Ro Yi. He begged the gangster boss to leave before the police came, but Sung-won asked him to leave instead to block the way so that Yi Seo and him could run first. Geun Won jumped into the car to chase them. Sung-won managed to fight them off, leaving him with the gangster boss. On the other hand, Sae Ro Yi was in pain and could not run anymore. He told Yi Seo he loved her, and they hugged. Geun Won saw them and accelerated the car and drove towards them. Sae Ro Yi told Yi Seo to run away and call the cops, and he will block him. Geun Won is now a good fighter, and because Sae Ro Yi was injured, he could not fight well. Sung-won managed to fight the gangster boss and his team, but he spared their lives and told him he should be a good boss. Sae Ro Yi was tired, but the thought of Yi Seo gave him strength. Then Yi Seo managed to arrive with the police, and Yi Seo and Sae Ro Yi was in an embrace. The next morning, Suah submitted all the evidence of Jangga crimes to the police, and the chairman place was ransacked. They were involved for embezzlement, bribery, and slush funds. The chairman wanted to take all the blame as he was about to die, but his assistant said that his partners wanted to pull out, which will cause Jangga to go bankrupt and they will have to sell the company. The chairman panicked as he will lose everything and realized only Sae Ro Yi could save him as everyone else ignored him. Geun Won was put in life imprisonment for attempted murder. Sae Ro Yi woke up and hugged Yi Seo. Yi Seo's mother was extremely angry about what happened and scolded him, but after he apologized, the 3 of them left the hospital happily. They arrived at the Danbam and bumped into the chairman and went to the kitchen to personally prepare a dish. The taste was so good that deep down, he knew Sae Ro Yi's abilities. Sae Ro Yi said he would buy over Jangga and remove the name Jangga permanently. The chairman was extremely sad, but he knelt down and apologized for everything and asked him to forgive him. But he did not feel happy even though it happened. The chairman cried pitifully because in the end he still lost everything. The merger was being held and Sae Ro Yi had the full support of the shareholders, and his words touched everyone as he said people are the most important. Even though he lost everything, but with his good heart and unyielding will, he managed to achieve what he wanted. Gunsu was going to live abroad. He gave up his ambitions and respected Sae Ro Yi. Soo called Sae Ro Yi and said she can finally live freely and told him to cheer for her. Finally, Sae Ro Yi went out with Yi Seo and had the courage to hold her hand and gave her a kiss and finally got together. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed our summary. Your support means the world to us, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel.